Now, someone asked me in the comments about the stars, the lights that we see in the sky, and I have addressed this somewhat in other videos, but I'd like to revisit it. Now, in my opinion, through observable reality, whatever's in the sky cannot demonstrate, depict, or define what's underneath it, the dimensions or physics of the earth. Okay? Like ants that walk into a ballroom and to steal food off tables can look up and see the chandelier and then go back to the anthill and tell all the other ants they live on a chandelier would be absurd. Those ants would be rounded up and dealt with. Now, the known plagiarist Einstein came with the curvature of space-time, which now teaches that gravity is the result of, for instance, the alleged mass of the Earth up there in the sky, weighing down on its surrounding space-time that surrounds the entire Earth. This is a new concept to say that within a vacuum there is also some fabric called space-time. And as I said in other videos, I've proven that time is a concept. There is no such thing as time. There is no presence in substance that can be directly detected to identify something as time itself. If time were real, having presence in substance, it would be relative unto itself everywhere. It wouldn't be different high atop a mountain slowing down and then regular at sea level. It would all be the same. People think time slows down at the height of a mountain. It is the device that you think you're keeping time that is being affected by pressures or the surrounding environment. Okay, time itself is a concept. Okay, there is no yesterday or tomorrow. These are concepts. These are ways that we have devised through language to remember past acts, which we call yesterday. Tomorrow is just a means to plan for future acts, or acts that we want to accomplish, and we stamp that with tomorrow. There is no yesterday or tomorrow. We are stuck in the constant present. Every second is the constant present. It could never be dictated by the appearance or departure of an object in the sky, the sun. It could never be dictated by day or night or when you wake up or go to sleep. It would be relative unto itself regardless of what anything or anyone were doing. So time is a concept. All right, and when I was just talking about space-time, the known plagiarist Einstein is the one that stole that from another person and introduced it. Okay, it is ridiculous because if you look up in the sky and see a certain alleged planet doing it, what they call its orbital motion and going in its direction, it can back up and then go forward again and back up. They call that retrograde. That debunks the fabric of space-time because, like I told this person in my comment to him, if you curve something, you can follow that curve to see what another object, which direction it would go if another object was put on that curved surface that you made. And it would take another outside force or occurrence to alter that course. If you curve like a piece of plastic and you rolled something down it, you could see the trajectory that object would take rolling down it. The only thing that could stop that motion is another force. And retrograde, or the fabric of space-time, gravity being created by the alleged mass of objects, planets, stars, moons, the sun, does not have another force in that. It's just things following the trajectory of curved space-time, which is ridiculous. Now, light, as you see, in my opinion, these things up in the sky are lights, okay? in my opinion, through demonstrable reality, light cannot be weighed, it cannot be burned by fire, and wind cannot blow light away. Do you understand? Okay, so these things we see in the sky, when you zoom in on them, they bear no resemblance to the countless artists' renderings and conceptions and animations we are shown by scientism. They resemble electromagnetic currents of energy, multiple colorful lights, pulsating, semi-transparent, and some almost 100% transparent. Okay, they do not bear any resemblance to what we're shown. These artist renderings of stars like Betelgeuse, it is ridiculous. So how these things move in the sky, well, I would say they're much like light. They are light. That's how we view them. And light cannot be weighed. It has no mass. You understand? Something cannot have mass but still exist. It can still have presence and substance. And gas is much like light. I'm not saying the two are the same. But I can use one to try to describe the other to people who refuse to understand, because they instantaneously believe everything they're told. And when you do that, there is no requirement to understand anything. All you do is try to memorize it. You do not try to understand it. So to try to explain something, I can compare light with the stars in the sky and gas. Okay, light has no mass. It cannot be weighed on any weight scale, contained or not. It cannot be burned by fire. And wind, no matter what gale force wind is blowing around, it cannot blow or alter light. And the stars we see in the sky, the sun and the moon, are lights. So how do they move around? I believe gravity cannot have anything to do with it, because there's no directly detectable presence or substance of gravity itself on the earth. And if there was something holding these cars down, and every blade of grass and every grain of sand, particle of dirt, person, place, and thing, trillions of things, it would have to have presence and substance to do that. Now, people were also arguing with me about, I got to pronounce it again, spectroscopy. That this, they observe wavelength of light to tell what the source is comprised of. That's ridiculous. There's no spectroscopy that can measure this or analyze the light of a flashlight and then tell and say, oh, well, that's a flashlight. Do you understand that? Now, one example, like you can get a little toy, a movable toy that's powered by the sun. You shine the sunlight on it and it'll start moving. You can also use a flashlight and shine it on that area and it'll start dancing too. That's because light is very, very, very similar. And when I say you can shine a light through a prism and get a certain colorful wavelength, that is apparent with all light. The only difference between sunlight and that of a flashlight is how bright that identical spectrum comes out. The light from the sun is much brighter than the flashlight, so it appears much more luminous. They don't tell you that. They want to tell you that by analyzing rays of sunlight, they could tell you what the sun is made of. But I promise you, there's no department in science that can bring any device to where I can shine light from a candle, a car headlight, a flashlight, or a light bulb, and they can look at that light and say, oh, well, that's from a light bulb, or that's from a flashlight, and here's why, and here's how we do it. No, they can't do that. Just like the little toy can't tell the difference between rays of sunlight and a flashlight when you shine it on that toy. Now, I'm of the belief that if it can't be demonstrated on the earth, then it's not real. The truth does not require theory. The truth can always be verified, understood, and demonstrated. If something being claimed to be the truth or a fact fails any one of that criteria, it is not true. And that's where they introduce the theory. A theory allows people to have faith. They don't know that that's what they're doing. They're just having faith in something that cannot be demonstrated. And gravity is a 500 plus year old theory. And we did not always believe the Earth was a big giant ball. From 1900s up to about 1930, it was still widely accepted that the Earth was flat. It's in cartoons, it's in newspapers. All you have to do is look. This guy Copernicus, who they say came up with gravity hundreds of years ago, or that the Earth was a ball, forgive me. Yeah, he might have been running around with that belief, but it wasn't accepted throughout the land. They would argue this nonsense in back rooms and at a school here or there. We are deceived on a level so broad, it would spin your head if you finally decided to accept observable, demonstrable reality and truth. If you stop instantaneously believing everything you're told, you can finally get to the truth. What does it matter? The truth matters. If the truth doesn't matter, then your whole life is a lie. Your wife and your girlfriend, you would expect the truth from them. Would you say the truth didn't matter then? Or if your bank was not being totally honest with you? Yes, the truth matters. There is a reason why they lie to us about the very ground we stand on. If you think the very ground you stand on is up within the sky, you have to raise your head dang near 90 degrees to look up. If you think it's in the sky, then you are highly deceived and a very gullible individual. You are. Okay? This force or occurrence of gravity, be it by Newton or Einstein, would have to physically interact, engage, or engulf, or touch whatever it wanted to pull or curve or hold back down towards the center of the Earth. And we cannot directly detect any such action through current, field, wave, beam, or ray, or particle. Now, there is a distinct reason why we cannot directly detect any presence and substance of gravity, be it Newtonian's garbage or Einstein. It's not there. Okay, if you woke up, or God forbid, like say you were in a coma, I hate to use that example, but if you woke up or you had memory loss, but you could still speak and remember people, but you just didn't remember, the things you learned in school about science, there's no way throughout your day, over any amount of years, that you would start to say, because of something you see, that the Earth is a giant ball, that you are walking around atop, underneath, and on the sides of a giant ball, and that there is some force or occurrence that has godlike powers that keep you on it. The only reason you believe this nonsense is because beginning in kindergarten, you were systematically dumbed down to believe everything you are told on an instantaneous manner. Okay, that's how we are taught. And it is not learning to instantaneously believe something and memorize it to regurgitate for a test or in some debate. That's illogical. Whatever's going on in the sky cannot provide dimensions of the shape, physics, or mechanics of the Earth or whatever's underneath it. I don't understand why people think that things that occur in the sky are proof of a big giant ball. They are not. And people throw at me, well, lunar eclipse, it's the Earth's shadow on the moon. But I dare one of you to provide me a link or a video where the moon is, many times the sun is still above the horizon with the moon. But the Earth, the sun, and the moon are supposed to be in a perfect line, what they call syzygy. I have a problem with some of these words, but that's not a perfect line if both are still above the horizon. Then they come with refraction. Refraction and gravity go hand in hand to explain away anything that doesn't concur with their nonsense. They got this refraction and gravity to explain it away. Oh, that's why. And you instantaneously believe it. Memorize and regurgitate. Why does the shadow, if the moon is sinking in or setting into the shadow of the earth would appear on the moon at the bottom of the moon rising up. It would appear at the 6 o'clock part of the moon and rise up towards the 12 o'clock on the moon. That never happens. It always starts at the top. How can you find a shadow and lower your hand into it? The shadow will appear at the bottom of your hand, working its way up as your hand goes down. Okay, it does not start at the top and work its way down. That's ridiculous. There are so many ridiculous things when you begin to scrutinize the things we are told. Okay, the Bible says that our sky is constrained by a firmament, and beyond the firmament is water. And so they turn around and contradict it and say it's infinite. It goes on forever. The Big Bang exploded, and this motion called inflation continues to occur. That the Earth is on, everything's based on 666. The axial tilt, if you take 23.4, if you minus that from 90 degrees, which is what that 23.4 is derived from, 90 degrees, it is, if you subtract 23.4 from 90, it's 66.6 degrees. The mean velocity of the alleged orbit of the Earth around the Sun is 66,600 miles an hour. And I said in another video, I might have said it wrong, but the polar circle, the North Pole polar circle and the Southern polar circle are both at 66 degrees north and 66.6 degrees south. Latitudes for the polar circles. It's all based on 666. The alleged first mile in the Earth's curvature is 666 with other numerals, but the first three are 666. It is ridiculous what they teach us. It is all atheists. They want you to believe that they are atheists when in reality you can observe what they do to see that they believe in false pagan gods. Everything they do pays homage to them. The sun, Sol, Helios, Ra. But I don't know if that answers, this guy wanted to know about the precession of objects in the sky. The things that we try to figure out, they are sometimes too far away, and mankind, scientism tries to act like they know everything. They have an explanation for everything. Slap 3 or 4 theories on it, and there you go. No, there's no way we can know everything. That's not the way we were made. And the Bible even says you can't know everything. And God doesn't explain everything. I believe the Bible is basic instructions before leaving the earth. And not a description or science book to explain away or explain reality. God says he made the earth, and I believe it. I believe God made the earth, not gravity. So, retrograde debunks the curvature of space-time. And light, which what these objects are, if you zoom in on them, you'll see they're lights. They look like currents of electromagnetic energy. Colorful, very colorful, transparent and semi-transparent. And as I said, light, it cannot be burned, it cannot be blown away, and it cannot be weighed. Alright? So, they can be up there through the means of electromagnetic power or influence. I believe all the stars are connected through like a web-like structure with the firmament, It's like a big battery. But anyway, time is a concept. Light has no mass. And when they say that light can travel for millions and trillions of miles, No, light cannot exist independent of its source. I can shine that light there all night and that light will never go further. I can do that. You see? And that light, no matter how long this light is shined, will travel any further than the source has the power to throw it. And once I extinguish the source, so too is all the light extinguished. Light cannot exist independently of its source. That is demonstrable. And yes, they do try to devise ways to contradict reality. And people instantaneously believe it. Okay? Light cannot, we are not looking at starlight that's millions of years old that have been in the act of travel for millions of years. Light is instantaneous, you see.